Good morning, everyone. Phil here, and welcome to the Level 1 podcast. It is Sunday, the 21st of April, 2024, and you know what that means. Sunday is React Day. Today, I take a step back from gameplay, and instead, we react to all kinds of fun stuff, a variety of clips as submitted by the members and viewers on my DSP versus the Internet show on DSP Reacts, and then, of course, later on tonight, my Retro React weekly event, where I watch back my old gameplay from many, many years ago in the old style over on DSP Throwback, and that's going to be the continuation of The Walking Dead Telltale game, Season 1, finishing up Episode 2 and starting up Episode 3. So, I hope you're all in a good mood, and I hope that you are enjoying your weekends. If not, well, hopefully, this show could do something about that. This will be a much more laid-back show, meaning the last day or two, I had specific interesting topics that I really needed to hit upon and talk about. Today, not so much. Today, I do want to do just a little bit of catch-up on everything that's going on all of my channels so everyone knows. But for the most part, today is a more chill day where we can have conversation. I can maybe do some suggestion box stuff. It's really up to the audience and how we're feeling here, okay? So, today's a much more cool day. Yesterday was an incredibly warm day here in Washington. It was in the 70s Fahrenheit with full sun most of the day, which meant it was very hot in here. And that was quite interesting trying to balance that with playing Elden Ring. But now it's cooler. I'm like, nice relaxing air is coming in my window and everything, which is really, really nice. So, I hope you're all ready for some chill reacting fun in the cooler weather. But before we get to that, I think what we should do is we should catch up on all the stuff that I'm currently working on so you guys know exactly where we are. And then we'll rush through the schedule quickly here so you know exactly what to expect in the next week. Because this week, we have 2 streams that we have to figure out. We have to figure out what we want to do on Tuesday night and Wednesday night. And we have options. We really do. We have open options of things to do. And I'm curious what you guys think would be the best options for those days. And so I want to talk about that this morning, obviously, and see if we can get a little bit more guidance. We only have 2 days to figure this out, all right? Anyway, so what's going on with all of my playthroughs and everything? Well, first of all, the Return to Elden Ring run started at part 39, and the funny part about it was I accidentally had the return part also be called part 39. So for like a week and a half, I had 2 part 39s in this playthrough, and no one noticed. And then it was like a few days ago, on this podcast, someone was like, hey, Phil, you aware you have 2 number 39s? I was like, wait, what? And I looked, I was like, oh, oops. So I retitled them like part 1, part 2 or something like that. So that people would know. If you watch it in the playlist, you know, you'll watch it in order and you won't miss that part. But primarily, since I've been back to Elden Ring for about, about 2 weeks now, roughly 2.5 weeks, there's been some interesting stuff. For example, there's stuff that I am absolutely positively melting with this glintstone magic build that I've been using. Whether it's the actual glintstone sorceries themselves, or it is now the Dark Moon Greatsword, which I got by completing Ronnie's questline, and I leveled it all the way up to plus 10. Those, you know, swapping between those two has been quite good in taking out the denizens of the Lands Between. However, there have been some instances where things in my first run that were actually quite simple for me have become way more complicated. So, for example, my first run, for those who don't remember 2 years ago, was primarily based on melee weapons. And after I kind of got to the endgame meta, I was using the Reikart's, what was it called? Like the Bastard Blade or something like that. Blasphemous Blade. It was the sword that you get when you kill Rykart. Which is, or when you use Reikart's soul, excuse me, to make a weapon. And that weapon, number 1, just does great damage with a certain build, but also has a special ability. You slam it down and this flame comes out of the ground, and if it hits the enemy, it absorbs health. So you get health back while you're using this attack, plus it does insane damage. So I remember either it was me jump R2ing the entire game, meaning jump heavy attack, because jumping attacks in Elden Ring are incredibly overpowered, and you can use them to dominate the game. It was either that, or it was me using this blade. Okay, that was really the end game meta that I was using. So now in this run, Now that I'm a magician, it is so different. You know, can I use this Dark Moon Blade as a melee weapon? Yes, I can. And it even has a projectile that it could throw that's really damaging. But for the most part, I'm based on ranged. I have to stay away from enemies, and I have to try to tag them with various different spells. So, in the first run, I had way more trouble with enemies that keep away because I needed to get up in their face and smash them. In this run, enemies that keep away actually aren't a big deal. For the most part, the enemies that keep away, I'm just tossing magic at them, and the magic hones in and hits them, and it's not, you know, a tremendous undertaking to kill those enemies. So, for example, both versions of Astel the Alien were super easy in this run. They just weren't that challenging. But then when you get to other enemies that are more tankish, so to speak, it gets a lot harder. So, for example, in this run, surprisingly enough, the Flame Giant boss was actually way more difficult for me. I had to fight him kind of legit in this run, dodging all of his attacks, finding the openings to use magic, while my original Elden Ring run 2 years ago, I just bullied him. I ran up and smashed his feet with Jump R2 and then used the Blasphemous Blade ability and just demolished him. I think I beat him on the first try, if I remember correctly. So, what a difference. And if anything, this shows the genius of From Software. When they make one of these games, they make it so that different builds make the game feel like you're playing a completely different game. I definitely feel like this second run, this Magic run, has felt like the game is a completely different experience from my first one 2 years ago. That's great. And I think that was one of the major shortcomings of Sekiro. While everyone else was praising Sekiro as Game of the Year, I was like, how can you praise this game as Game of the Year? It's the most limited FromSoft game ever made. There's literally no reason for a second run. You're going to use the same sword, the same weapons and abilities. You can't do a different scenario. I don't understand why people like this game so much. But with typical FromSoft games like Elden Ring, you get the opportunity to go back and replay. And that's cool. So I'm really liking it. But now what's happening is I'm approaching the end of the game. And as I'm approaching the end of the game, I'm facing some of the hardest stuff. And this stuff is kicking my butt. For example, Godskin Duo. Yeah, Godskin Duo took about an hour to beat. I had to figure out a way to try to lure them towards me so they would walk into area of effect spells. And then they die and they come back. You know, they actually have to kill 2 Godskin Duos, which is pretty nuts. So it's pretty challenging of a fight, especially when you're basically very squishy. Meaning, I don't have high damage resistance. They poke me, and I lose more than half my life to one hit. So they can literally go hit, hit, hit with a quick combo, and I'm instantly dead. So it's rough right now in certain boss fights. Yesterday, I had to fight the Placidusac's secret boss. And I remember in my first run, yeah, it was challenging, but I just ran up and I smashed them, right? In this run, you can't do that. In this run, I'm trying to find my openings to cast spells between his magic, which can interrupt my magic and actually screw me over. And, you know, you would think, oh, just nuke him with a nuke spell. You can't. You try to do it and you get interrupted. And again, I take so much damage. 2 hits and I'm dead. And in fact, I fought Placidusax for an hour yesterday. Now listen, I like the fight. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying what a difference between different builds, how the game completely changes. I went tit for tat with him. I was actually doing quite well. I was finding openings where I can do the meteor spell and hit him for big damage in between some of his attacks. I get down to the very end of the fight. He has maybe 10% health left. I only need like 1 more volley of attacks. This guy's dead. And then he does his Hail Mary. For those who don't know, at the end of the fight with Placidusax, he has 2 attacks that he does. First, the whole arena lights up with lightning, and then he disappears, and he flies around you and comes down with an instant kill swipe. And then when he lands, he charges up and does this crazy laser beam attack all over the screen. And it's very reminiscent of like a Godzilla movie with like King Ghidorah spraying his laser beams all over the place. It's really neat. So I had him this time. I knew if he landed, I was going to win. He basically didn't do his right animation. Like, he has an animation where he's supposed to show this cloud going around the arena so you know where he is, and then he swoops down, you dodge his attack. He's open for a few seconds. It didn't, like, the animation never showed up. I was looking all around, like, where the fuck is it? And the next thing I know, he's behind me, insta-kills me. So it is what it is. But, I mean, that's what I mean. Like, that wasn't even a concern, a big deal in my first run. In my first run, I was so tankish and just so brute force-ish that I didn't even care if I got hit by that or not. In this run, it's like every little thing matters. You got to dodge perfectly and everything. So, yeah, I'm enjoying the second run. And the thing is, we're getting near the end of the game now. So we've got Placidusax, we've got, I believe, the conclusion of Furamazula, which is Malekith, which I don't know how that's going to go. Again, it could be another fight that's very weird because certain fights that I thought would be tough weren't, like the Moog fight, which I beat him on the second try by nuking him with the Comet spell. So I wonder, I wonder what's going to happen. Can I nuke Malekith, or is he going to be a tank or very agile, and then I have to kind of like play a different game? I don't know. We'll have to see. But we're nearing the end, and people are actually saying I have options. I can either go right back to the capital city and beat the whole game, and then you don't have to end it. You can actually choose to continue on. So after you beat all the final bosses, you can go back to the northern frozen area, and then I could go to the Haley Tree and do that if I want. So I got to think about it. I'm thinking probably 1 to 2 more streams until I get to Haley Tree, and then decide if I want to do Haley Tree. I don't know. The way I'm going, it seems like people are asking me if they want me to do it. The good news is we are in position for the DLC. So whether or not we do Haley Tree and I actually fight Millennia again, we're ready to go. We can quit at any time that we feel that it's appropriate, and then we can just wait for June and then start the DLC. So mission accomplished in that regard, but people are still liking it and wanting me to go a little further, so we'll see what happens, okay? So that's what's going on with the Elden Ring playthrough. Street Fighter. Let's talk a little bit about this. So I returned to Street Fighter 6 about 2 weeks ago because I wanted to bring variety back to my streams, and people were craving fighting games, and notably, Street Fighter was the game that I had the most progress in. So people had wanted to see me play more, and so I have, and I've done pretty much all casual play, and I've called out how I've done in the casual play sets and things like that. But now finally on Friday I went back to ranked play with Blanca, and I guess what I'm doing is I'm going to get back into the swing of things of playing the game at a more competitive level. And on Friday I did pretty good. When I went to ranked, I got 17 wins and 10 losses, a 63% win-loss ratio, and ended up at a master points level of 1,540 points. Interestingly enough, I actually was 1,526 when I had stopped playing back in like January. So when they reset, it actually reset my ranking and erased some of my points. The highest I've ever ended a session at was 1,549. But I actually, at one point, I want to say I was up to 1,600, and then I just lost a ton. And I lost all those points. So I've always hovered around 1,500 with Blanca as I played in ranked. So Blanca, doing good in ranked, looking forward to more. But now that I've played with Blanca for 2 straight sessions, I feel like we need to continue on with other characters. And my next goal for Street Fighter 6 is to get back into the swing of things with Zangief, who I really like, but sadly is just not good in this game. He's very low tier. But I like the character. I want to mess around with him. I want to get him to master rank. Out of all the characters that I've used in Street Fighter 6, Blanca, Lily, Dalsim, and Honda, all of them hit master. Zangief was the only character that I never really dedicated enough time to get him to master rank. He is so hard to use in this game, especially against these rushdown characters. So we'll see. I think what I need to do is I got to practice some more in casual play, and then I need to study some tech. I'm going to probably have to watch some videos and things to try to get some strategies down against these faster characters and see what happens. But I want to see if I can make that climb to master. Now, I don't know if they reset all the rankings, and what I mean by that is when I was using Zangief, let me find the ranking here. I was actually at Diamond 3-star. Like, that's where I left at, Diamond 3-star level on PS5. I had actually played and played my placement matches, and they put me into mid-diamond. And I actually did pretty good. That session I had done, let's see here, 29 wins and 25 losses, so I had a positive win-loss ratio back when I had done that. But then I never played again with him in ranked, so I don't know what happened. They did say they hit reset, but did they only hit reset on the master ranks, or did that reset every ranking? I don't know, because if they hit reset, does that mean I'm down to like regular 1-star diamond? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know. I really don't know how that works. I guess we'll have to see when I play again on Monday night with Zangief, but I think I'm just going to do casual play to start to get back into the swing of things with the character. So Street Fighter 6, I'm getting back into it. With my characters, I'll probably continue to do that. And then whenever Akuma comes out, they said spring. Now, it's been spring for a month. It'll still be spring for 2 more months. That gives them 2 more months to put Akuma out. I feel May is the month. I really do. I think that May, they're going to put out Akuma, and then they're going to start teasing the Season 2 changes that they're going to do, which likely will happen at some point during the summer, I would think. So, yes, I think that Street Fighter is going swimmingly, and we will continue to play that. Now, other playthroughs that I'm doing, right? Alone in the Dark concluded this week, or last week, so we're good with that. It's done. I like the game, by the way, but overall, it was overpriced, and actually it just dipped in price. If you're interested, I think it's only $40 now. What other games am I playing? Helldivers 2, which was your choice that I played this game, and I've hit level, I think, 17 now, and I've unlocked quite a few great stratagems. Like, I'm using things such as the autocannon gun, the orbital laser, the 500 kilogram bomb, among others. And these are really good, and I'm starting to get much better at the game now and really contribute to helping my team. While at first, those first week or two where I was playing was just me kind of flubbing it and just kind of being carried by everybody. But now I'm actually significantly contributing to the team effort. The streams seem to do good. Like, when I play the game, people seem to come out, they engage, they have a good time. The on-demand videos do not do good for this game. All right, just gonna make this clear. Like, for example, I played it, what, 2 days ago? Yeah, no, it was yesterday, right? I played it yesterday. And, no, I played it 2 days ago. It was Friday. See, I'm even losing track of what day each day is. And so I played it Friday, and some of the videos from Friday don't even have 300 views yet. And it's been days. It's like, I don't really think that this game catches on with the audience on demand anyway. But it's weird, because when I play it on stream, people do come out to watch me play it on stream. So it makes me scratch my head, like, what is it that people really want? Even Street Fighter 6 gets more views than the Helldivers stuff. But it's weird, because people wanted me to play Helldivers for 2 months, so I did it, and then they don't watch it on demand. I don't know. I can't really explain it. But I will say this, you know, the streams do well. So I'm not disappointed. As long as the streams continue to do well, I'll keep it in the rotation for the foreseeable future. Okay? So, we got Street Fighter, we got Helldivers, we got Elden Ring. Okay? That's pretty much the consistent schedule at this point. Now, I have, every once in a while, tossed in a stream of Star Wars Battlefront, which we played last night again. And let me tell you, this game has now been out for about a month. This game is a disaster. I don't foresee them ever making this game better. I think that this game is always going to be broken, and I don't think they really care, quite honestly. I really don't. I don't feel like the makers of the game really give a shit about improving it. They acted like they did at first, because, of course, when it came out and it was so broken, there was all this negative press all over the internet about it. So they started to, oh, we're going to fix it. We're so sorry. They really haven't. It's been a whole month now. I played it last night. Everyone's still teleporting around. It's still impossible to really be a sniper because the enemies are all over the place, juddering. The hit detection is laggy as hell. You're shooting someone and the hits don't register, or they register super late. I still, you know, issues with the servers. And yesterday I mixed it up. I actually played Battlefront 2 for the first hour, and then I went back to Battlefront 1. And the major difference between the two that I've seen is that Battlefront 1 seems to have longer matches. Like, the matches just last a hell of a lot longer. They were lasting 20-30 minutes, as opposed to Battlefront 2, where it was like 5-10 minutes tops. So I think they made Battlefront 2 a faster paced game. And to some extent, Battlefront 1 is a lot more fun because of that. But again, when the game is so wonky and nothing is really legit, it's hard to really get into it. Like, I'm trying to get into, I want to use rockets to kill people, and then I shoot the rocket and it explodes next to someone and they don't take any damage. Like, what? Are you trying to snipe and you fire and the body goes like it's jittering all over the place? But you can't play this game, you know? So it's, when I play it, I'm just messing around. Like, I'm not taking it seriously. And last night, once again, that kind of worked. Just messing around, we were having silly conversations and fun and interacting that way, and it seemed to work fine. So I think every once in a while, if we just have like a random night with nothing going on and people want to see me do something truly random, then I could play Battlefront. But I don't think that Battlefront is going to be anything consistent or expected in the schedule to be played at any kind of a recurring level. It's just kind of a thing to squeeze in because it's such bugged out. What a mess and what a ripoff. And it's just the state of modern gaming. that these companies just want to put out games. They don't give a shit what the quality is. They just want to make a buck. They're riding on nostalgia. They're riding on all kinds of different things to try to fool you into spending money on something that sucks. So it is what it is. I'm not sure that this is the future that we wanted for gaming, but it's kind of disappointing. I was hoping Battlefront Collection would be something we could do as a consistent multiplayer game, and it's just become a nightmare. Thank God I started playing Helldivers 2. Seriously. Anyway, so that's really what's going on with my schedule and rotation right now. That, think about that. It's not a lot. Elden Ring is approaching the end, and I'm thinking, within another 1 or 2 weeks, even if we do Hay League Tree, that is, we're going to beat Elden Ring. And then we're ready. We're ready for the DLC. It goes on hiatus. And obviously, Helldivers 2 and Street Fighter 6 cannot support all my streams. So you might say, well, what's coming? It's a good question. There's a lot coming. There's 2 new games coming up this week that I'm trying. One of them, I'm trying out that's a Game Pass game. The other one is very in demand right now because the Fallout TV series is so popular and because it's getting an update this week. Okay? So, here's what's coming. Let's go through the schedule. Today, it's React Day. So we're going to have DSP versus the Internet, my clip show, where members of DSP React nominate clips to be watched. I think this week we have 11 Ultra Member clips. No, it's either 10 or 11 Ultra Member clips. And then we have like 20 or so standard submissions tier clips that we watch in random order that we may or may not get through all of them. So it's a good show. I like the show because it's variety. It's something very different from my normal content. And I enjoy it. So I hope you'll join me for that right now. Or I would say right now, but after this podcast ends, we're all going to collectively head over to the DSP Reacts channel. That's youtube.com/@DSPReact. And we're going to have a fun show together. I hope you'll swing by. And if not, if you can't make it, hopefully you'll watch the videos on demand over the course of the week as they go live on the channel. Or if you're a channel member over there, you get to watch that archive stream right away. Okay? Cool. Now, the other thing I'm doing tonight is the Retro React stream on my DSP Throwback channel, which is youtube.com/@DSPThrowback. It's more of The Walking Dead. The last 2 weeks, we have enjoyed Season 1 of The Walking Dead and re-exploring Telltale Games and its origins. This was the game that put Telltale Games on the map. Beforehand, they had other games like Jurassic Park and Back to the Future, like movie tie-ins and stuff. This tie-in, was their big IP tie-in that got them so popular that they blew up and ended up making like a dozen games with giant properties attached, and they made them a pretty good amount of money. So I've been excited to go to do this with you guys, and to be truthful, I don't remember most of the stuff happening in The Walking Dead Season 1. I don't remember these plots. So I was like, we were guessing. Gee, what's in the barn? What's in the barn? I couldn't figure it out. And then there's a big twist that we just got at the end of the last stream. We're like, oh crap, I didn't remember that twist at all. And I'm excited to see where it goes. So it's good. Tonight, the climax of episode 2, and then we head into probably the first half of episode 3. So I hope you'll join me for that over there, 6:45 p.m. Pacific time. It's been very fun reacting to my old stuff. It has this nostalgic vibe. You get to see my old commentary style and how ridiculous it was and cringe at it, but laugh at it as well. And, happy that I've changed for the better. But at the same time, it's always cool to look back at the past and enjoy these classic playthroughs that people love so much. So, been a great time, and I certainly hope that you will join me again tonight for that, okay? Tomorrow, we're back to gaming. And so on this channel, we will have more Helldivers 2 and more Street Fighter 6, and the Street Fighter 6 session will be Zangief, like I said, taking him into casual play, trying to get back into the swing of things with him. I haven't used him since my birthday over 2 weeks ago, and it was only an hour of gameplay, so this time I'll focus more in on learning and everything. Okay, then on Tuesday, it's going to be more Elden Ring, and then Tuesday night is completely up in the air. And the question is, what do you guys want to do on Tuesday night? We have many options. Let's go through some of these. Option number 1, we could have a Game Pass night, where we just go on to Game Pass, we look at games in there, maybe mark some off for trying some, and maybe even trying some of them, depending on what you want to do. So it will be the first time in a very long time that I had just an exploration night on Game Pass checking out games. Okay? That's option number 1. Option number 2, kind of a hangout night, where we just chill and talk for the night, which we've done. Okay, and sometimes it works and it's good. We'll see. That's what you're interested in. Option number 3, would be to collectively set up Fightcade together. Meaning, I boot up my mini PC for the first time in many months, okay? And not only do we probably install a bunch of fucking Windows updates and things, but we basically get Fightcade, which is the retro fighting game thing. By the way, people are saying, what happened to Blastoise? From what I saw, he got timed out for 10 minutes, and I don't know why. Like, I was trying to figure it out. I think he might have used too many emotes. Like, he was spamming a lot of emotes at once, and I saw it was a 300-second timeout. So don't worry about Blastoise. He's not banned or anything. It looks like he just got timed out, but I think 10 minutes have passed, and he hasn't said a word. I don't know why. Okay? Anyway, I don't know. People are derailing the stream talking about this in chat. Okay. So, when I say Fightcade, Fightcade is a emulator / online netcode program app, whatever you want to call it, for PC that allows you to play retro fighting games. So, with Fightcade, I'd be able to play games such as the Street Fighter Alpha series, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, any of the CPS2 classic Street Fighter games such as Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, the one that I was the best at competitively in my run as a competitive player, or the Versus series of games like X-Men versus Street Fighter, Marvel versus Capcom, and stuff like that. So, yeah, like, I feel like that would be really fun to get the ability to play retro fighting games unlocked on that mini PC. My joystick works with the mini PC. It actually has 3 settings, one for PS4, one for PS5, and one for PC. So it should just plug right into a USB port and work when on that setting. So I would be able to use this for Fightcade, which would be excellent. You know, that's how I grew up playing, was all on a joystick setup. So that would be kind of neat. But now what just happened? I just flicked the switch by accident. Oh, I didn't. Okay, I didn't flick an important one, I don't think. No, I didn't. Fine. Anyway, I think that would be fun to get going, especially because one of the ideas that we've been discussing is a marathon in late May called the Fighting Game Fiesta, where I would play a variety of fighting games, including Street Fighter 6, some Tekken 8, retro fighting games on Fightcade, but also react to some classic tournament footage of me on the internet playing in Street Fighter tournaments, and also doing some reminiscing about the old days, telling some stories about how it used to be back in the fighting game community when, you know, it was grassroots. And then also having some food and stuff, you know, a good variety of stuff that day. I feel it would work. It would be an interesting event. So if we have Fightcade set up previously to do that, it would be great. And I need help setting it up. Someone has already sent me instructions on how to do it, like how to set it up, but I don't even really understand them that well. It's going to be something that I need to be walked through live. So I think doing a night stream where basically we set it up, it would take, I feel like it would take us like an hour to set this thing up, get games downloaded, test them out, get them working, right? That would be like the primary, let's get this thing working, and then try some games and see how they play. I mean, I have no clue how they're going to play on this. They're probably going to be laggy because it's going to be shitty rollback netcode. They're going to be teleporting all over the place. I literally remember when GGPO netcode first debuted. It was Fightcade didn't exist, but that GGPO netcode was being used in other like emulators. And I was playing Super Turbo, and the characters were teleporting all over the place. I was just like, wow, this is the future, huh? This is the future of online fighting games. Here we are, like 20 years later, and every game is using rollback netcode, and every game has issues with dropped inputs. And it's like, yeah, because no one could think of anything else, so now we're stuck with this shit. So I'd like to give it a shot, but I need help with that. Like, I need help setting it up, and it has to be like a stream to do that, right? So we could do that, right? So any of these are options. Like, I'm thinking we have many options of stuff that we can do for Tuesday night. Now, Wednesday, it's probably going to be a final session of Helldivers 2. And when I say final, I mean, you know, I've been playing it quite a lot. I'm probably going to reduce the amount I'm playing it. So I'm going to have 2 new games in the rotation starting next week. Okay? And then Wednesday night, it could be anything. You know, I could do more Street Fighter 6 with Zangief and try to actually go to ranked this time. Or we could just figure it out. All right? So, almost another rollback before rant. Huh? I don't know what that means. Anyway, so that's the idea. I need to know your thoughts on what to do basically Tuesday, Wednesday night. You know, Wednesday night I'm feeling more gameplay, but Tuesday night could be anything. Again, it could be Game Pass, it could be a chill stream, it could be setting up Fightcade. Like, what do you guys want to do? You know, let me know. I want to know your thoughts, so that way we're not just sitting around doing nothing on Tuesday night confused. We have today and tomorrow to figure this out. All right? So, what do you guys think? I'm just curious. Here, should I do an initial poll? Let's just do a poll on the stream for you, those of you that are here. What should Tuesday's late stream be? Can't type. Game Pass night, hangout session, fight, game, setup, stream. Okay. So you guys vote. I'm not saying this vote is going to actually determine what we do on Tuesday night, but at least this will give me initial ideas of what you guys may be interested in, at least for those who are here live. Okay? Cool. All right. Cool. All right, now, that's the schedule for this week, because Thursday's my day off. Starting on Friday, we've got new stuff. All right, because on Thursday, my day off, there's actually 2 things happening. Number 1 is the release of Another Crab's Treasure, which actually is a indie game on Game Pass that is a Souls-like with a hermit crab fighting like aquatic life. It sounds interesting, but I don't know if it's going to catch on, much like Harold Halibut, which I played last week, and I thought, hey, let's give it a shot. It's a Game Pass game. Maybe it'll catch on, but then it didn't, right? Then, sadly, people, you know, were actually bored during the stream and asked me to never play it again. So I never did because people were too bored, right? So, same thing here. There's no commitment to actually playing this game long term, but I at least want to give it a shot and see if it's something that you'd be interested in seeing me play more, right? That's one thing happening on my day off. And then, on top of that, there is the update for Fallout 4 that's coming out. Now, this is supposed to be an update that takes Fallout 4, the plain, you know, program from 2015, and upgrades it for modern audiences. It's supposed to make it better graphics, better detail, a performance and quality mode that you can select between, some tweaks to it, and also, apparently, adding free DLC that maybe even has to do with the Enclave, which is weird because the Enclave aren't really in Fallout 4, right? So, you gotta wonder, you know, what does this entail? How big of a deal will it be? You know, but people are excited about Fallout right now. Why? Because the TV show is very popular. Everyone's watching and talking about it. And right now, no exaggeration, there's something like 160,000 people on Steam playing Fallout 4 right now. It's the most in 9 years. Like, when the game first came out, it was very popular. But since then, it's kind of just died and went downhill. And now Fallout is being popular again. Okay? So, yeah, I'm excited for that because I haven't played Fallout 4 since it came out 9 years ago. And I feel like a second run is warranted at this point, especially with the timeliness of doing it in time to here with the TV show. I think that it would be something fun to do. And I also want to see what these updates do, you know. I'm going to assume it's going to probably run beautifully on the Series X. I originally played Fallout 4 on my Xbox One. That was a really bad choice. It ran horribly on the Xbox One. Like, it was choppy and everything, and I was very disappointed. So to play it in full 60 frames with better graphics and tweaks and things is probably going to be a lot more fun. Although, admittedly, I remember there's a couple things about Fallout 4 that I liked and some things that aren't so good. The game is a lot more shooty, meaning it really does play more like a first-person shooter where you're shooting everything possible and not really using things like VATS as much like you were in previous games. And the whole idea of base building and base defense is really annoying because all you want to do is play Fallout, and instead they make you play this like sim game where you're building a town with defenses and shit. It's like, why am I doing this? It's supposed to be Fallout, right? So, I'm excited to try this out and see how it works. The thing is, we have no new games until the 3rd week of May that I'm interested in. When we went through the gaming schedule back on my birthday, we discovered this, that there's a 3-week big gap in gaming. Then all of a sudden at the end of May, there's like 3 games that I'm interested in. But we have to get there. So I figure having more variety in the schedule, you know, yes, we'll continue Elden Ring, but we're going to finish it. Yes, we'll continue with Street Fighter 6. And yes, we'll play Helldivers, just not every day. having these other single player games are going to be a lot better for the variety of the streams. Okay, so I think that'll be fun, and I hope you'll join me for that stuff starting next week. Now the question is, what would you like to see me do on Friday? Because I can only do one. I can either play Another Crab's Treasure, or I can play Fallout 4. I'm going to be honest, I tend to lean towards Another Crab's Treasure. Reason being, it's a new game. Fallout 4 you've seen before, or maybe played it before. It's cool that I'm going to play it again. There's just no giant rush to see me go back, correct? While with Another Crab's Treasure, it's a brand new game. We play it, that way we determine if it's good or not. And if it's not good, we could just say, okay, it's out of the rotation, right? Or if it's good, we then say, oh, excellent, you know, keep it in the rotation. So I'm kind of thinking that's what we should do, is probably Friday would be Another Crab's Treasure and Friday Night Fights, and then Saturday would be Fallout 4 and, you know, something else on the late stream, whether that be Helldivers 2 or whatever, okay? So there you go. So anyway, that's where we're going right now with the variety of the streams, and so next week we will have big variety, more stuff, not just the same games, and that's good. The thing is, we have to get through Tuesday, Wednesday night of this week, and right now, so just so you guys know, with the voting that's going on right now, we have 165 people who voted out of like the 300 on the stream. 350. Wow, there's actually more people on stream than I thought today. So 50% are voting for Fightcade setup. I guess people are interested in seeing me play old school fighting games, which I am too. Like I love the classics, right? I'm not amazing at them, but those are the ones that I played in arcades back in the day. I would very much like to have a method to play them. So I think it's a necessary stream, even though it may not be the most fun stream for us, because I got to do technical shit to get it set up. I definitely think that it should turn out as something productive. You know what I'm saying? So, by the way, if Blastoise, I don't know what happened to Blastoise. Like I said, it said it was a 10-minute timeout, yet Blastoise isn't in the chat. So Blastoise, if you think you got banned or something, just email me. If you're listening, I have no idea if you are, if you took off after you got timed out or whatever. But I'm checking. Yeah, I don't see any. I don't see any email or anything, so I really don't know what happened there. I really have no clue. I don't know what he was timed out. Like I said, it said timed out, but I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was the bot. I don't know if it was a mod. I didn't do it. You know, I have no idea. I missed it. It just said timeout 300 seconds, and then it scrolled off the screen. I didn't get to see it. So, okay. Anyway, so there you go. Now, today, folks, I have one news story to talk about. Are you ready? It's time for one of the briefest DSP news segments we've ever done, but I feel like this should be addressed, okay? So listen to this. Little Big Planet 3. Does anyone remember that game? Well, first of all, does anyone remember Little Big Planet at this point? I guess we should bring that up, because it's really weird how sometimes there are games that are like at the absolute epitome of like gaming, and everyone talks about them, and they're a big part of culture. Like Little Big Planet at its height, right, was actually like a Sony mascot game. I remember seeing Sackboy all over the place in Sony marketing for PlayStation 3. I remember seeing Sackboy, like, toys and collectibles in stores. Just going, like, Target or something. You would see Sackboy, and you're like, wow, that's pretty cool that something like that in gaming has hit the mainstream to that point, and that gets that kind of recognition, right? It was kind of the same thing with Minecraft. Like, around that same time period, you saw Minecraft start to get prominent, and you saw Minecraft stuff in stores as well. But you might say, what the hell happened to Little Big Planet? Right? First of all, for those who don't know, there's 3 official Little Big Planet games. 1, 2, and 3. Then I believe there was one that was made for, was it on the Vita? There might have been like a Vita version. And then there was one that came out as a PS5 launch title. Sackboy's Big Adventure, but it wasn't called Little Big Planet. It's kind of a weird story. So the company that made it is called Media Molecule. And this company was kind of a breakout company when they made Little Big Planet, and Sony, you know, immediately saw the potential for this to become something big. They heavily promoted the game to try to make it be a game synonymous with PS3. And at the time, Little Big Planet was a media darling. It really, really was. Everyone in the gaming media was kissing this game's butt and saying, this is like the best created content game for a console you can get. Not to say, created content was always something on PC games, right? Like mods and stuff. But for a console, it's a rarity when you get that. So to see a game that was literally based around you make the stages, you use the in-game tools to create these creative situations, environments, and challenges. People loved it. And I remember when it came out, I played the campaign, and I thought the campaign was pretty decent. And I played the online, and I was very skeptical. I was like, I don't think this is going to amount to anything, because here's my take. And of course, this is a very outdated take. But the take was, if you're someone who's going to get into creating game levels and game development, you should probably go to school and then do it as a job, right? Like, if you buy Little Big Planet 1 and you bought it because you want to make levels, you literally paid money to do something that you could be getting paid for, right? Like, you could work for Media Molecule or Sony and you could make games like this and receive a salary, as opposed to you buy the game for $60, you go home, you make your own levels, and you give them out for free, and then you don't get paid for it. That really always baffled me. I was like, see, the thing is now, many years later, you see the success of games like Mario Maker 1 and 2 and stuff like that, and you're like, okay, I kind of get it, but at the same time, it's so odd and bizarre that people didn't see that this was kind of a really weird situation where you were giving them free content. Like really the reason Little Big Planet 1 and 2 shined was the user-created content. The campaigns were fine. They were long and they were challenging and had unique things to them. But really where the game shined was, you waited like 2-3 months after the games came out, you go into the online thing that everyone uploaded, you'd see these insanely creative stages, like, whoa, what on earth? There's a roller coaster, there's another platformer, there's this and that kind of game that they basically made with the in-game engine. And that's where the games really had their prominence. So why were you paying for that when it was free content made by other people? They didn't even get paid for their work, right? So I always kind of thought it was kind of a weird formula, okay? But they were good games. I played 1 and 2, totally, as full playthroughs and doing created content highlights in my videos. And then 3 I did as a co-op playthrough. Although I don't really recall ever going online and trying the online content of 3. Since then, I never played them. Like, I know that there was a Vita version, and I know that, like I said, there was this one Sackboy's Big Adventure. And here's the thing. When PS5 came out and the Sackboy game came out, first of all, I was confused why they didn't call it, like, Little Big Planet 4. And also, they were charging $70 for it, right? And I was like, there's no way or was it 60? It was either 60 or 70. And I was like, there's just no way that I'm spending that much money on a game that looks like a cutesy platformer. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. The platforming elements of Little Big Planet have always been good. But I was like, that just seems like a really expensive launch title. Like, that's a title that should have been released for $40, but they're releasing it for 60 or 70 because it was a PS5 launch title. So that's how they get you. You pay way more money than it's worth because it was a launch game, right? So I skipped it. Years later, that game is like $10. Like, you can get it right now so cheap. And it's like, if I want to play it, I will, but who cares? Because now no one really cares about it anymore, right? So you might say, well, wait a minute, I don't get it. There were 3 Little Big Planet games. Then there was a Sackboy game. What happened to Little Big Planet? And what happened that they changed the name from Little Big Planet to Sackboy? In all of their wisdom, the Media Molecule company, the company that originally developed these games, decided that they wanted to go even further into the realm of content creation engines. And so after Little Big Planet 2, they decided they didn't want to make the games anymore. And that IP got handed off to another studio. Isn't it called like Sumo Interactive or something like that? And they're the ones who are now making anything with that IP. Media Molecule, on the other hand, decided to go off the deep end. And what I mean by that is I still remember there was an E3 presentation many years ago. The Sony presentation, look what Media Molecule's up to. And basically it shows like this big AR tabletop thing. And they're like, look what we're doing. It's AR. It's like AR. Like, I wasn't aware that gamers who play on a Sony console were asking for AR. For those who don't know, it basically means you look at a real room. Like, let's say right now I'm looking at my real office here, but you could get like virtual features or game elements to show up by going through a certain camera or something. You know, this is something that they implemented at the launch of PS4 with Astro's Playroom, if you remember. And then they really never did anything with it. It just kind of died out. So I remember that they were doing this weird big AR deal, and then nothing ever came of it. Like, it just vanished. And then their next game after Little Big Planet 2 that was actually released was called Dreams. You might say, what is Dreams? Well, that's a good question, because most people don't know it exists. Dreams was a game that they made to be the ultimate creation suite for consoles, meaning you get all these tools to make whatever you want. And apparently people recreated entire games that existed in the Dreams engine. Like, they would recreate a first-person shooter. They could recreate a third-person action game in the Dreams engine. And it was unique and cool that you could do that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, there's a problem. The problem is there's no point to it. Like, wow, I can do all these creative things, but I'm not working for a game development company. I'm not getting paid for my work, so why do I care? And it was, again, it was hilarious because Dreams was the media darling. If you were in games journalism or following games journalism, when Dreams came out, you would have thought this is the game changer. Everyone's going to want Dreams. Everyone's going to be sitting in Dreams making games endlessly. And what ended up happening was Dreams was a huge sales failure. All right? No one wanted this. People wanted cutesy Sackboy. They wanted the cool mascots playing a platformer game. They did not care about a creation suite to make games on a console. So even though insanely creative things were made in it, and people have shown over the years, look at this, what's this? Oh, this is in Dreams. Dreams? I don't even hear about Dreams in like 4 years. You're telling me you made a game in Dreams and this is it, and this is what it looks like? But no one cared. Like, it didn't sell. So since then, where'd Media Molecule go? They're gone. Like, I don't even know what they're doing. I'm sure they didn't just go out of business, but no one's really heard from them in ages. Like, what are they working on? What are they? I don't know. There's no word from these guys. Okay. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because I know this is a long-winded way to get to the point. There was something that just happened in regards to posterity of gaming that a lot of people are very alarmed about. Okay. So listen, I'm going to read the story here. Little Big Planet 3. Okay, now this is the one that was not made by Media Molecule. This is actually the first game that was made after Media Molecule stopped making them and they went on to make Dreams. So Little Big Planet 3 had their servers temporarily taken down in January 2024. For some reason, there were ongoing technical issues with the servers that no one could seem to fix. So they took them down temporarily and said, we're going to fix them. It has now been announced officially by Sony. They have no intention of ever bringing the servers ever back up. So if you own Little Big Planet 3, all of the online content that was ever created is gone for good. You cannot ever access it ever again. It's just gone. Deleted. Wow. That's game posterity there, isn't it? That's game preservation, huh? Like, what? What happened? Seriously? What the fuck? The whole point of the game, again, was supposed to be created content, right? And if you remove the created content, you've essentially deleted the game. So it even says in the post, so you can continue to play the game offline. You can still play the single-player campaign, and you can still create content, but it can only be used locally on your own console. There's nowhere to upload it to. The servers are completely gone. There's no online component whatsoever to the game. It's deleted. Now this happened with Little Big Planet 3. It begs the question, will this happen with the other two Little Big Planet games? Which, again, are primarily focused on content creation online. Will this happen with other games? What is going to happen with Mario Maker 1 and 2? Do you think eventually, you know, Nintendo will say, well, time's come. Server's going down, but wait a minute. The whole game is based around making content. If I can't make the content, then the game is worthless. Oh, too bad. We don't care, you know? And again, with the big discussions going on right now about game preservation and posterity, what about a game like this, where the whole idea was community creations, and now the community creations are gone and have no access, so the game is erased from history as if it never existed. You have to rely on old YouTube videos that people made of some of the content or whatever, right? Did it really? Luthe says this already happened with Little Big Planet 1 and 2. Seriously? So what the heck? I mean, this is going to be a big thing now. These games with these online components, and that was the whole selling point of the game. And if the online component doesn't exist, then the game is kind of erased from history, right? You know, at the very least, you would hope that much like other games where this has happened, there'd be like fan servers that get set up, and somehow you can connect to that server and you could still upload content again. Hopefully, people who made some of the best created content have saved it locally, and they can then re-upload it somewhere else later. But that really sucks. I mean, that's a whole generation, PS3 into PS4 generation of content creation in games that was very creative and fun. I remember, so in my funniest moments, that one year, me playing Street Fighter, which wasn't Street Fighter, it was a horrendous mutation of something that kind of looked like Street Fighter in the game. It was hideous and scary as hell. So to me, it's like, wow. Like, I mean, this is a big deal, is it not? So games will just be erased as if they never existed. It's not like a single player experience where, yeah, you could still play it offline by yourself. I mean, yeah, they have a campaign to them, but that's not the point of the games. So that's a bad thing. And I'm wondering what's going to happen. Will Sony have any statement about this? Or is the entire community who liked Little Big Planet just supposed to throw their hands up and say, oh, well, Sony's decided not to support it anymore. I guess we're screwed, right? And I think, sadly, this is just going to happen more and more, is that we didn't realize when we started making games that had these major online components as part of the dynamic of the game, that once that dynamic is shut down because these companies just don't see it viable to maintain anymore for whatever reason, those games are erased from history. You know, no one can go back and play them. Imagine if, right now, you couldn't go back and play an old Street Fighter game. Imagine if you couldn't go back and play Super Mario Brothers because they had online components that are now disabled. So gaming history is forgotten, right? Because that's pretty fucked up. So, and by the way, people are confirming this did happen with Mario Maker 1 because they just turned off all the online functionality of the Wii U the other day. You're right. It was, what, last week? Wii U went offline for good. No more online connectivity. So, whatever you have on Mario Maker 1, you have, and that's it. Everything else was lost. Wow. Lilica says Gran Turismo Sport was online only. The devs last minute patched it to be playable offline right before they ended all the servers, so it was nice of them. That is nice of them. Because, again, for posterity purposes, you want to have gaming history, you know, be preserved. And it's going to be a major deal if it's not, right? I mean, how are we going to forget entire generations? I remember Little Big Planet was huge, right? Like, Little Big Planet was legitimately a humongous game for Sony. Again, toys and collectibles and stuffed animals were being sold in stores because it was such a big thing. Now it just doesn't exist anymore. It's just erased. Anyway, all right, so that's my news story for today. And click the right thing. There we go. And get back to the show. Hope you enjoyed it. And all right, so here's the deal. It's already 12:11. I went a little later than I thought I would. So I think what we'll do is we'll do a couple shout outs. We'll see where it takes us and see if we want to do some Q&A today. I thought that we maybe have time for suggestion box, but it's looking like it's not very likely. By the way, after about a half an hour of this poll running and 310 votes with 400 people watching, that's a pretty good percentile of people who voted. 47% of people are saying Fightcade setup stream. 36% are saying Game Pass night. It seems like the hangout session is not really wanted right now. All right, so I'm going to take that to heart, and I will decide. I'll keep talking with you guys about it today and tomorrow. I'll try to decide if we're either going to do that Fightcade setup night or if we're going to do the Game Pass night on Tuesday, all right? But thank you for your feedback. All right, so we start off today with Spawn Killer, who did a $2 super chat and said, I still have my Fallout 4 Pip Boy Collector's Edition. So, okay, so I got a question about that, okay? When Fallout 4 came out, that was the time when I stopped buying collector's editions. Because if you remember, when I lived in Connecticut, I bought almost all the collector's editions. I still did a series called Release Day Unboxing. Remember that? And basically, it was really, honestly, it was popular and profitable for me. You know, I would spend tons of extra money to get the better editions with cool collectibles or whatever came with it. I would live unbox it. I would show it off, all the different content and all of that. And then, you know, sometimes I would give this stuff away for a special giveaway. Sometimes I sold some of it years later. My wife is vacuuming and just made a loud noise with the vacuum cleaner. It was funny. I think the rug got caught up in it. But anyway, there's no elephant in my hallway, just so you know. But yeah, like I used to do this regularly. And then I basically stopped doing it when I moved out here. Why? Because number one, I just didn't have the money for it anymore. You know, spending $150 to $200 on every major release that has a collector's edition was way too expensive. Number two, the stuff was becoming junk. Like a lot of stuff I got in the collector's editions wasn't very valuable or even worth looking at. Number three, the release day unboxing videos were becoming few and far between. Why? Because games weren't coming with much to unbox anymore. A typical game, you'd open it up, it was a disc with no instruction booklet and nothing on the inside, and the box was so bare bones, the unboxing was super boring. So I just phased them out and stopped doing them. And then when Fallout 4 was coming out, and they announced the Fallout 4 with Pip Boy Edition, I was like, oh, dude, like that would have been one that probably would have been an amazing unboxing. But at that time, you know, I was in a lot of issues with money and everything. And I was like, yeah, I'm just not going to drop that amount of money. Even if I made an unboxing video that made some money back, I didn't think it was going to be very worth it. So I basically stopped doing those. And then, so I guess, I don't know if that Pip Boy is any good. Did anyone ever get that? Anyone in the chat? I know Spawn Killer says he has it. Was it any good? And was it, like, do you feel like that Pip Boy was worth spending the money on? Did it have features and stuff that you liked? Or was it just kind of crappy? Like, I don't actually know what it was. Wasn't it just plastic? But what was on the screen? Did it actually have interactions and stuff? Right? I think cosplayers used it, right? For Fallout cosplay and stuff like that. But I'm just curious if anyone ever here had it and liked it. I've never seen it in person. I know it exists. I saw pictures of it online and everything. But I never actually, like, saw someone using one to see if it was any good or if it was anything cool. So... Frankel Jaw says, I never played Fallout. Which would you start with for someone who's new to the series? It's such a tough question. I'll just say this. Don't play 76. If you're going to play Fallout, you've got to play 3 New Vegas or 4. Do not play 76. Now, 4 is the more modern one. It plays almost like a shooter, but it has RPG elements, but it's a lot of shooting. 3, okay, probably has the best story elements of most of them. But the combat is a little bit rough, sadly. Like in 3, you can't really do a melee class. They're not very viable. And then New Vegas is kind of good combination. It's got a good story, and they improved various gameplay elements so that now almost every playthrough is like viable. Like you do energy weapons run, small weapons run, explosives run, melee weapons run, and they all kind of work. Okay, so it really depends on what you're looking for. They're all pretty good of the first 3. Most people would argue that 3 and New Vegas are the better games, but that 4 is more accessible. So pick your poison or pick your pleasure, I guess. They're all pretty good. Okay. So thank you, Spawn Killer. And if Spawn Killer's still here, I'd like to hear about the Pip Boy. All right, first tip of the day. Oh, let's see here. The Big Dog tipped me $5.01. Says, have you or Cat listened to the new Taylor Swift album yet? It's really good. It's probably the last thing anyone in this household would listen to. We'd probably listen to, like, a chorus of howler monkeys going, ooh, 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 before we listen to Taylor Swift. So thank you to the Big Dog for a $5.01 tip to start off the tipping today. I appreciate that. Okay. By the way, I'm pretty sure you knew that was my answer. I'm pretty sure that you understand that I don't care about Taylor Swift, right? Okay. All right. That's what we've got for now. If any other contributions come in, I'll shout them out. Now, guys, today's React Day, and as you know, as I tell you, with the React show, particularly the one on the DSP Reacts channel, okay? Sadly, I don't make revenue on anyone watching videos on that channel for the most part, and the reason is because every time I do this React show on Sunday, most of the videos get claimed on YouTube for content ID because we're watching other people's content. So there's no ad revenue to go around on the React channel. Really, the profit on my React channel is twofold: memberships and the profitability of the streams. And every Sunday I do a stream. So anything you contribute today, whether it be a super chat, a membership, or a tip, is going to help out my efforts to make React content. And I hope that you will support the stream, because typically what ends up happening is we get some good support early on the podcast, and then once the React show starts, for some reason it's like dead. And it's like, I'm doing the show, I'm enjoying it, I have an audience, but the contributions just die. And it's like, it kind of sucks because I like the React stuff. I want to keep doing it. I think it's good for variety, but it has to remain viable, okay? So, if you like this stuff, please support it today, okay? X Shooter just did a super chat. Thank you, X Shooter. How did you get the Fallout figure behind you? Well, hold on a second here. Excuse me. So, this is a bobblehead, a Vault Boy bobblehead from Fallout. However, it is not actually themed to anything. For example, it's not the strength bobblehead or the intelligence bobblehead. It's none of that, right? It's a generic bobblehead, and it says Vault 111 on the back. So it is themed to Fallout 4, because that was actually the vault in Fallout 4 was Vault 111. Okay? How did I get it? Well, back in the day, you know, almost a decade ago at this point, I had some various different partnership opportunities, and one of them that they actually reached out to me. I didn't reach out to them. They contacted me, was Loot Crate. And Loot Crate, for those who don't know, is a subscription-based service where every month you pay a fee, and then they send you a box of swag. That's what they called it. Although today, you probably wouldn't even call it that anymore. You probably just say a bunch of collectibles, right? So you would get a t-shirt, you would get stickers, pins, maybe a comic book, maybe a poster, and every once in a while you get something pretty cool like this. And I actually got a specially themed, for the launch of Fallout 4, they had a specially themed Fallout Loot Crate, and this came with it. It's probably, honestly, out of all the things I ever got about from Loot Crate, I got a couple neat t-shirts and this bobblehead. Probably the two coolest things I ever got out of Loot Crate. The thing is, today, you can literally buy every bobblehead from Fallout. Like, you go online, and there's companies that make these branded, and you can get, like, every single one. This one just happens to be generic because it's not branded. It was a Loot Crate exclusive. It even says, like, on the bottom here in the ultra fine print, 2015 Bethesda Studios, all rights reserved. And it has a code, but I don't know what the code is for. I don't actually know what it means. Yeah, it has a code, but I don't know what it means. So that's where I got this. It was limited run, only available through Loot Crate. But you can go online and get every single one if you want. Okay? Cool. So by the way, what happened to Loot Crate? They went out of business because their model failed. Basically, they kept trying to sell junk in these crates, and no one wanted them, and they went out of business, and then a new company bought them, and since have relaunched it, and now I don't know anything about it. I don't know if the quality has gone up or whatever, but it was just funny because at one point, Loot Crate was so prominent, like every YouTuber was doing it. We all had partnerships with Loot Crate. So every month, you'd have like 1,000 YouTubers who were unboxing Loot Crate things, and then it just disappeared because the company went bankrupt. So I don't know if that still happens today or not. I don't know if anyone does those kind of unboxings anymore. Okay. You know what's funny is there was another company. I can't remember. Were they called like One Up Box or something like that? They were trying to compete with Loot Crate, and they also wanted to have me as a partner. And I said, sure, I'll just give it a shot. Like, I didn't really commit to it. I said, if you send me a few of the boxes or whatever, I'll unbox them and I'll see if they're any good. I think they sent me like 6 boxes, and they were all crap. Like, every month was garbage. I was like, this is like a really crappy thing. So I actually stopped unboxing them and making videos. And I even wrote to my contact. I was like, please stop sending me your boxes. They're of very low quality and I don't want them anymore. And they continued to send them to me for like another year. And then I think they went out of business, so they stopped sending those to me too. It was very bizarre. I don't know how these companies operated. It was so weird, the way that they operated. Like, you're going to send me just a bunch of junk and not even like, it was so odd. Anyway, all right. So I guess that's what I've got for now. If anyone has anything they'd like to talk about, please tag me in the chat. And we'll have a little bit of a conversation here. Since we have some extra time. Didn't that 1UP company send you the 1UP beanie? No. No. I didn't get any beanies or anything from a company like that. That's stuff I bought myself. Do you prefer the new Xbox controller over the PS5 one? Can you rate them on a 1 to 10? I'm starting to get annoyed by the PS5 design, especially the low thumbstick, says Rolor. Here's what I like about the Xbox controller. Number one, all right, it's very light. Why? Because there's no built-in battery. With no built-in battery, the controller just feels better naturally in your hands. You can use it wired, and you don't have to worry about the thing being heavy, okay? Number two, the grip on the back of the controller, the texture to it, is a much better grip and texture than what's on the PlayStation controller. So just grabbing it like this feels so good. I'm like, oh, this is very comfy, and this is, you know, yeah, it's just good. And then I like the button placement and how the buttons are a certain shape that you can feel. And I do like that the left thumbstick is higher and the right thumbstick is lower. It just, I don't know why, but it just naturally feels better to me, okay? Also, I like that the triggers actually feel like triggers that you're clicking to shoot something, all right? So just, there's a lot of different features on this control. The feel, the lightness, the positioning, and the buttons and the triggers, they all feel better to me, okay? Now, if you compare that to the PS5 controller, okay? Number one, immediately it's heavier. And I'm like, don't like that as much. The spacing, if you actually look at the two controllers and you kind of overlap them, you'll notice that the handles on the Xbox controller are more angled out. This is more angled down. I feel like the angling out feels more natural, and the angled down kind of forces you to make your hands curve in a little bit more than you would want naturally. Also, the back of the PS5 controller does not have as good of a grip. It's more fine of a grip. It's still there, but it's not as noticeable. The thumbsticks. I like the texture of the thumbsticks on the Xbox controller. On the PS5 controller, they're already kind of smooth, and they wear out right away. Like, I tell you this right now, this thumbstick will not remain nice and pristine for more than like a couple months if you use it all the time. It just wears out and gets smooth, while you still are going to feel the grooves and the texture of the thumbstick on the Xbox controller. I don't like the haptic feedback. It very much doesn't add anything to games. Okay, I think Sony was really going for that on this console gen. There was going to be some big deal. I don't think there's been a single game besides the launch titles. Like the launch titles for PS5, I felt like haptic feedback was good. Since then, I don't think any or many games utilize it to the point where if a game has it, I don't even realize. I just ignore it. It doesn't affect my gameplay at all. In addition, no one uses this touchpad. Like no one. No games utilize this thing. So you've got haptic feedback, you've got touchpad, you got all this stuff in this controller. Even the speaker. I know I never want this speaker to ever play a noise. I would prefer that all the audio comes out of my headphones or whatever. I don't want my controller trying to talk to me, right? It's distracting and you can't really hear it that well either. So I don't like that. And it's like basically all the features that make the PS5 need to have that battery pack built in are features I don't want. I would prefer remove the control, the speaker, remove the haptic feedback, remove the touchpad, and take the battery out. And if this controller was lighter, maybe I would like it more. Also, the triggers aren't nearly as good. The triggers, again, they're stubbier and smoother. Rather than feeling like a real trigger that you're clicking to shoot something, it just kind of feels like something you slip on. So, I don't know. I just don't really like this controller that much. I think it's okay, but I think that for ease of use and comfort and the natural feeling of your hands, I think that the Xbox controller is just superior. That's my take. It's been my take for 2 console gens. Even last gen, I said I like Xbox better. The gen before that, I said I liked Xbox better. I just think that's a well-designed controller, and this one is just like, oh, look at our controller that has a bunch of neat stuff in it you don't use, right? It's like, throw as much in here as you can, and then make sure that, you know, it's nothing actually that adds anything to the experience. Like, the touchpad is the biggest bust ever. It's been 2 gens they've had this on there. Can you name one game, a single game, where having a touchpad instead of a start button was beneficial? A single fucking game where you really use that touchpad for anything to just press it to open a menu. It's a waste of time. Nothing uses it. I have no idea why in the holy hell that touchpad is on there. Yeah. Oh, all right. I received a $2 tip from the UPS guy. He says, if I remember correctly, you have a Patreon, and there is a tier to have personal videos made. Is there a way to do that without Patreon? And I'm sure I know the answer. Have you ever thought of having a cameo? Reason is the question is someone's birthday is coming up this Friday. Excuse me. So, I do have a Patreon. I almost never mention it. It's patreon.com/darksidephil. Usually, all it's used for is legacy supporters who back in the day liked my content but didn't come to my live streams, but they wanted to support me in another way. Like, they watched the on-demand videos or whatever, and they wanted to help out, and they would pledge to my Patreon. And it's just an ongoing pledge that happens once a month, and they help out. And it does. It helps a lot. It's, you know, it's a little bit of supplementary income for me and my business, and I appreciate anyone out there who does that, okay? But I've always had a tier for $50 pledge where I make you a private video. The original idea was that it's a private Q&A video, okay, where you ask me a bunch of questions, and I literally will just sit there and have this discussion with you about answering the questions. And it's supposed to be around a 20-minute video, give or take, sometimes a little longer depending on the subject matter, right? So essentially, I did Cameo before Cameo. Like, and I've been doing this for a decade, okay? It's been 10 years since I opened my Patreon or whatever, or was it 9 years? I think it's like 9 years since I opened my Patreon. So, yeah, this has been something ongoing for a very long time that I do. Now, does it happen all the time? No. In fact, these days, it's a rarity that anyone would want a private Q&A video, all right? But it just so happens that when I started doing React content 2 years ago, there was a demand for me to do more React content, but maybe not necessarily a public React, but something more privatized. And so at that point, people said, hey, would you ever consider, for those private videos that you already have on your Patreon, would you consider doing reacting instead of Q&A? I said, sure, as long as it's something that's reasonable, you know? I'm not going to react to a subject matter that I'm not interested in or super bothers me or something like that. So, over the last year and a half, I've reacted to K-pop, travel vlogs, food vlogs, documentaries and political style stuff, anime, philosophical videos, religious videos. You probably don't know about most of those because they're private videos. There's only very few people, like Slayer usually posts up all his videos publicly for others to watch, but most people don't. I've done many of these videos that you guys are not aware of and wouldn't know because people kept them. These are private videos for themselves, okay? So there you go. So that's how I do it. Now, if you're interested in getting a private video made, yes, it has to be done through Patreon. And you might say, well, why? I don't get it. It's this simple. It's because it's a business transaction, right? If you're going to send me funds and I'm going to give you something transactionally back, there has to be a record of that for record keeping, for tax purposes, for all of that. So by doing it through Patreon, it's kosher, basically. You know, everything's there, everything's documented. You know, it gets recorded properly as income and everything. If you just send me money and say, hey, make a video, you know, there's really no proof there that a transaction took place properly. And you know what I'm saying? So really, it's a way to do it properly for my business. And it's a way to do it so that it protects both sides, that you can see that there was a proper transaction. I made the video, I provided the video, you know, it's kosher that way, okay? Now, I get it. Maybe you don't want to use Patreon. Well, I'm sorry, but I don't do private videos outside of Patreon. That's just how it works. Okay, I'm not setting up a Cameo. There's no point. I already have a Patreon where we can do it through that. I can't imagine why you wouldn't want to do it through Patreon. Literally hundreds to probably upwards of 1,000 people over the years have pledged to my Patreon and had zero issues. So I don't know. It's one of the most, there's nothing wrong with it. It works fine. And by the way, you can immediately go in, pledge, and just withdraw your pledge right after. And it counts as a one-time transaction. It's not an ongoing thing. That's how you do it. That's what I would recommend. But if you need a video made by Friday, I can't make a video by Friday. You know, these are things that I have to fit into my schedule. And as of right now, I don't have any time set out where I'd be able to make private videos right now. I usually do it once a month. I usually do it the first week of every month because that's Patreon. The way it works is if you have an ongoing recurring subscription, it charges on the first of the month, usually clears by the second, okay? And then you can basically once a month get your video made, and I usually do it all together in one night that first week of the month. So if you were to pledge now and say, hey, I want a video done right away, I can't do that. If you were to pledge now and be like, hey, can I have a video like the first week of May? Yes, I could do that. Okay? And by the way, I'm getting some more questions about this. For example, Lilica says, did you ever deny reacting to someone's Patreon video? Yes, I denied 2 different ones. One of them, someone literally wanted me to, like, react directly to detractor content, and I refused. I said, there's no point. Doing that just gives them attention they don't need, because you know that this video would probably be put up publicly somewhere. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to give attention to those who don't deserve it. They get enough as it is. And just further talking about or promoting detractor content is the opposite of what I would want. So what if you paid me $50? That doesn't help when ultimately it's just going to be toxic content for the internet that makes me look worse, right? And then there was one person who basically wanted to show me detractor videos of somebody else. Like it wasn't me. It was someone else had detractors, and they wanted me to watch their videos and react to their detractor videos about somebody else. And I also refused there. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. That's what they do to me. And it hurts me so badly. I know what it feels like. I don't want to basically create more detractor content for this person. All right. So, and by the way, in both of those cases, someone did not send me the money ahead of time. They asked me first, which is exactly what you should do. If you're interested in getting a private video made, but you're not sure it's something I would be interested in, you should absolutely ask me first. But I do have the ability to reject and refund through Patreon if it's something I don't want to do. So, okay. Let's see here. Kirk tipped me $1. Says the Loot Crate business model is no bueno. It might have been fun for kids, but for adults, you want to buy things a la carte. Anyway, now that Fallout Season 1 is over, do you think it's the best show of the year? Personally, I rank One Piece as the best show. Oh, I didn't see that. Consequentially, both shows can be woke, but still be great content. I don't know. I didn't see it. I really don't watch a lot of new shows. This is probably the first new show that I've seen this year. And I really liked it. That's all I can really say. Okay. Let's see here. I believe a super chat came in, but I missed it. Let's see here. Big Fridge did a super chat and says, do you think a PC would improve your Street Fighter 6 ranked experience? It may, but I can't guarantee that. You know, all I'll say is this. I played on Xbox, and then I played on PS5. And in both instances, it seems like my inputs dropped quite a lot. That's all I can say from my own experience. I have not played on PC. I don't know if PC would give a better experience. But all I will say is, isn't it a crazy coincidence that the vast majority of players in Master Rank at top levels and almost every single competitive FGC player who plays this game in tournaments is playing it on PC? Do you think that that's just a coincidence? They all decided to get gaming level PCs and play this game on PC? I mean, do you really? Or do you think there's a reason? And it's funny because people keep telling me, well, oh no, there's no evidence of that. Wait, what do you mean there's no evidence of it? Just look, they're all on PC. They may not talk about it on the internet because they don't want people to know about the advantage of playing on PC. They're not going to outright give away their secret. You know what I'm saying? But what do you know? Ellipsian says PC has a bigger player base. It's a cross-platform game. That's completely false. It's a cross-platform game, right? So I get the feeling, and this is just me guessing, I can't confirm or deny because I don't have a gaming PC, right? I almost guarantee you that playing this game on PC, sadly, gives you an advantage. I wish it didn't. I want all versions to be equal, but it just doesn't seem like that's the case. I bet whether it's the PC has a higher refresh rate, the PC has a lower chance to drop an input or whatever, right? Whatever it is, right? There's got to be an advantage. There's just no way, no crazy, just by complete chance and luck, that every pro player has a high-end PC and is playing this game on PC. If that were the case, if there was no advantage, they would all be playing it on PS5. So there's obviously an advantage. I don't know what it is, though. I can't confirm or deny. I'm not going to sit here and lie, but I can just guess, right? I guess high refresh rates, lower dropped inputs, they're having better react. I'll tell you this, it's so insane that I'm playing people in this game online, and they instantly react to stuff like Drive Impact. I see Drive Impact. The second I see it, I press the buttons. Mine never comes out. Every time I do Drive Impact against these people, their Drive Impact immediately comes out. So obviously, there's a reaction deal there where I have more delay than them. I guarantee it. That because I'm playing on console, I have way more delay than them. Okay. So a big fridge, I don't know. Maybe yes. Maybe if I had a high-end gaming PC and I was playing Street Fighter 6, it would improve my game. I don't know. I don't have it. Let's see here. I received a $10 tip from Dan the Man. Thank you so much to Dan the Man for a $10 tip this morning. I appreciate that. Get that on the leaderboard. Biggest tip of the day. Cool. All right. Next to last or last chance for any kind of question or shout out, because I do need to get the React show up and running. So thank you to those who have chilled and or contributed this morning. Again, I will just urge you, if you like the React content, please support the stream today. I have noticed a pattern that sadly, a lot of the times when I start with the React stuff, all of a sudden, all the support dries up during the React show. It's like, so if I didn't have a good pre-stream with the podcast, it ends up being like a dead stream, and that sucks because that channel really only makes money off of memberships and the stream. So please support the stream today if you like the React stuff. Okay? Thank you. I just received another $1 tip. Thanks for answering my question. I understand everything you said. One more thing. Why does the month of April suck? It's always raining. At least down here in the south, I'm sick of it. Hope it doesn't rain on the weekend. I'm going to Gatlinburg for the weekend. I have no idea what Gatlinburg is, but okay. We'll enjoy. And yeah, April showers bring May flowers, I believe is the saying, right? That there usually is typically in spring a lot of precipitation, but then it brings a lot of kind of growth and rebirth and all that stuff. Renewal, rejuvenation, right? Dark Maggot, see you later. You have a great day as well. Thanks for stopping by. No, I would not do cave diving. I'm not one of these people who seeks like extreme adventure and stuff like that. I think the narrative and claymation of Harold Halibut was alluring regardless of chat that didn't like the game. I told you guys I thought the game was perfectly fine. It wasn't super interesting, but it also wasn't bad. It was kind of a decent story so far, and having that dry humor, British wit to it was kind of neat. And I told you guys I'd be willing to go further in. I don't know. I only played 3 hours out of, what was it, like a 12-hour game? So I can't make a judgment on it, only having played like 3 hours of it. and I was willing to go further. But no, people that day were like, nah, we didn't. The views were not good on the on-demand videos. Half the people left the stream, and people were complaining the game was boring during said stream. So when you have that triple factor, you know, I kind of know that not every game is going to be played longer. I think what it is so many people are used to be playing a game at length and committing to games, and I'm not doing that anymore. We already said if I'm going to be playing these Game Pass games and trying them, I'm not committing to it. Same thing with this game coming up, Another Crab's Treasure. If we play it and it's not so good, I'm not committing to playing it. All right, we're going to see what happens. Okay? Would I be interested in a Fallout game based on characters from the show? No. I want the characters on the show to be in the show. I want them to be their own medium. Now, if you have a Fallout game that's based on lore generated from the show, that's different. Sure, give me a spin-off game that Fallout 5 has things that have happened during the show as part of its lore and affect the game. That I'm okay with. But I don't want those actual characters in the game, no. Neil says, thoughts on a retro show where people share memories of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s? I think viewership you have will have memories of those years. I don't know. What kind of a show would that be? Like, what do you mean? We have a show talking about, like, okay, tonight the topic is sitcoms that we all watched in the 1990s, and here's some of my favorites. And I outline them and what I liked about them, and then we could talk about funny plots about each one, and then people could bring up shows that they liked. We could do research, right? Maybe that would be interesting, like a late night chill talk show where we have topics like retro throwback topics. That's not a bad suggestion, actually. That could be kind of interesting. I'll have to think about that. Let's think about that idea. I'd be down for that. Reminiscing about the past, the things for the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Cool. Okay, anyway, we got to get out of here, guys, because I got to set up the React show. All right, so for those who chilled and supported the stream this morning, thank you. We're now going to swap over for the DSP versus the Internet Clip show. I hope you will stick around. If you're watching live, what's going to happen is on your screen, it's going to pop right up and say, hey, head over there. And you can just click right there and get set up. If you're just watching this on demand, I hope you enjoyed the show. And I hope that you will join me again tomorrow, where I'm sure I will recap everything that went down on the React show and any news or anything else going on. And we'll go from there. Thank you, everyone, for watching the Level 1 podcast. I will see you tomorrow morning.